Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of In Defense of Fitness, where we go over stuff that is in the fitness space that either speaks poorly on or talks kind of uniquely around fitness concepts, the word fitness, as well as CrossFit. My name is Pat. I've been doing this for about 20 years, coaching for that entire time, and really enjoy talking about it all. My particular background is CrossFit, so clearly I'm going to be biased, but I try to be as open as I can to explain to people why we do what we do. Now, this video was recommended to me, and it also got verbally recommended to me. So it was recommended by YouTube, but then it was actually recommended to me in a comment to watch this. And this is a video called The Fitness Lie, Why I Stopped Training Like a Bodybuilder by Eugene Teo. I haven't watched the video, but I'm intrigued to watch it, and let's go through it.
This is me 10 years ago. I'd spent over a decade obsessed with one thing: building as much muscle as humanly possible. And while I looked good, on the inside, I was broken. You can see it in how I walked. Every joint was stiff and locked up.
Okay, so interesting. He explicitly states what his goal was to gain a ton of muscle, right? And you don't have to be broken in order to do that, but he ended up broken. And you can end up broken doing any training program depending on how you attack it. But I would question why a lot of people see this as the goal. And I think that a lot of people only focus on physique. They only focus on what they look like. They don't realize that training is often much more about what you're capable of, or should be, mentally speaking. And it allows us to live higher qualities of life, not because people look at us and see a different thing, but because we can move through the world more efficiently. So I'm curious where he goes with this. This could be interesting.
And it wasn't just me. I was finding the same hidden problems in people all over the world. They all looked strong, but they were fragile. And
yeah, so that's fundamentally what I struggle with a lot of bodybuilding. And then like I said, there are different and better versions of it, but a lot of bodybuilders, because it's so isolated, we're working in such isolated functions. So we're not using the full mechanics of our body. We're not taking the body through a full range of motion and coupling the things together. So doing functional movements, we tend to be doing an isolated movement. We isolate out musculature, which leads towards, localized damage, but not the complete function of the system being used, like as it would be used in life. It's simply to elicit muscle breakdown and growth for size. So you can end up with a lot of achy things and be quite, like he says, broken. Now, you don't have to train this way. I know Marcus Philly and there's a few others who do this like functional bodybuilding that take the body through bigger ranges and stuff. So I'm curious where he goes.
And that's when it hit me. It's not just about size. You want to look better, feel better, and move better. So in
Oh, Anna Wish. I love Anna. It's not just about size. Yes. When you mature and when you start to, this might be mean, but when you start to grow up, you realize that is a very shallow reason to be training. It doesn't mean you can't pursue a better body. It doesn't mean you can't want more size. But to make that the focal point of what you do, you realize that you're missing out a lot of what fitness has to offer. So yeah.
this video, we're taking a more complete approach to fitness. One that doesn't reject bodybuilding, but enhances it.
Cool. I'm curious what he says here.
Most people don't realize this, but the majority of fitness content you see is focused purely on bodybuilding. If something doesn't maximize your muscle gains, it gets tossed into F tier. But there's a problem with that, and you can see it in how many of the top fitness experts move.
Yeah, he's using a lot of clips of Mike Israetel here, and Mike's a brilliant dude, and I bet you if you questioned him on this, I'm actually curious to see how he would define fitness and what it really is. I think bodybuilding actually fits outside of fitness. It is not a fitness regime. It is falling under the fitness category because of all of this being relatively new within the last 100 years to make physique and training, all that kind of stuff, what it is today, and gym culture, what it is today. But Mike's a smart guy, and he used to be a pretty great Olympic lifter, so he could move his body pretty well through some functional stuff. But these clips that you watch him try to run, you watch him try to jump, and those other ones, there is a clear loss of functionality. You watch how hard it is for him to do these, but he is not a guy who would say, I'm training for function. He's like, I'm just trying to be big. And he is vain, and he does drugs in order to be more vain, because he has that psychology. That's what he's trying to do, is just be big and just be muscular, because that's what he wants. And he's honest with that. I like bodybuilders who are honest with that. I don't like when they conflate it with, no, I'm going to be functional. It's like, no, the vast majority of them are not trying to do that. They're just trying to be big. But I would call it something other than fitness, because it's not fitness. It's physique.
I was right there with them, and I paid the price for it. And over the past 10 years, I've had to rebuild myself from the ground up. Building muscle is important, but there are 8 other fitness foundations that we'll go through today that get overlooked by the standard.
8 other. Interesting. I wonder if these are the 10 general physical skills that he's going to go over here. But I don't think so, because he has muscle and strength. So muscle would fall under physique? So we look at the 10 general physical skills, right? So we've got cardio, respiratory endurance, we've got accuracy, agility, coordination, balance, speed, power, stamina, flexibility. And I'm curious I don't know. I'm flicking my hair here. It's stressing me out of what he's going to go through.
Bodybuilding focused advice. We'll start with the more familiar foundations, and as we go, we'll build into the more uncommon areas. You'll see just how simple it can be to add this into a complete plan to upgrade your workouts.
I love it. So all the stuff he's doing right here is really awesome stuff, and Anna's great, and I'm curious where he goes. Liquid steel.
The truth is, you don't have to choose between getting jacked and effortless, pain-free movement. This is one of the old school bodybuilding secrets that got lost over the last few decades. Most people think of mobility training as a light stretch, yoga, or Pilates. But real mobility training is brutally hard, and it'll expose weaknesses you never knew you had.
Feeling? How your legs feel?
They feel fucked. They feel just completely just like bashed. I can't imagine like trying to do that after leg day.
Here's what most people miss. When you get more flexible, your muscles aren't actually getting longer. They're getting stronger. And when you get stronger, your brain stops blocking you from reaching deeper ranges of motion and dynamic fluid movement. Bodybuilding is a great foundation for this. If you got tight hamstrings, do some stiff leg deadlifts, and over time, add a deficit to it. If you got tight hips, do some Bulgarian split squats, and over time, add a deficit to it.
So it's interesting. He's talking about flexibility and mobility, and not the differences, but both of the things. Mobility and flexibility differ by one is an active range of motion, one is a passive range of motion. And what's interesting is he showed a couple stretches, but then what he's talking about in order to do them and get more flexible is by doing these dynamic movements through longer and longer ranges of motion. And he's actually showing a lot of loaded stuff here too. So I'm loving how he's speaking about it. Unfortunately, we conflate flexibility and mobility with a lot of static stretching, and it's not. It is a way to improve range and health there, but another way is through these loaded movements, which actually carries quite a bit of change potential relative to the static holds. And like you said, they're brutal. And should find their way into training. But if you notice most like great programs, especially CrossFit, we ask you to do longer ranges of motion because that's how you build longer ranges of motion. It's how you build health at these end ranges. And also simultaneously, you should be doing stuff like this in warm-ups and cool downs to help round out your program.
I guarantee you'll get more mobile from doing this. But these exercises still miss so many positions your body needs to go through. Over time, these neglected positions get weak and unstable, and your brain starts to restrict your access to them. That's why I was waddling. I could squat deep with super heavy weights, but I only knew one position. Mobility training expands your movement vocabulary and builds uncommon strength. For example, a long stance lunge or the horse stance squat targets your hip flexors, hamstrings, inner thighs, and deep hip muscles. A hip airplane in the 90-90 isolates rotation at the hips. And a windmill or Turkish get-up build full body strength and stability as you twist, bend, and rotate.
Yeah.
It can look a little complicated or quirky, but you only need 3 core mobility training methods to build total body strength, stability, and even muscle.
So all the stuff he mentioned is quite simple, and they're all fantastic. So he was saying that in those kinds of movements, the strength movements that we talked about earlier, you can build range, but you're limited because you're not doing the twisting, you're not finding ranges in different stances, and you're not switching stuff up, which is what he goes to then do. Again, I think this falls squarely into good warm-up practice, good cool-down practice, even finding yourself not necessarily in high-intensity stuff, but like you could find occasional workouts that throw in Turkish get-ups and stuff like that, because the importance of the range of motion. A lot of big gymnastic stuff falls into these categories, and we would often and routinely program these as warm-ups to build these ranges. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Here's how I do it in my hybrid bodybuilding workouts. First is the flow. This will get you moving more freely and reduce your injury risk. Use a dynamic movement drill at the start of your workouts to explore the muscles and ranges you want to train that day. 1 or 2 sets of 20 to 30 reps is all you need. Next is the act.
I love how he's doing these all in like jeans and shoes and stuff. So that flow that he just talked about, those types of things are not going to do much to change end range. Like, you're not going to be getting much gains from that, but they're great for overall health and blood flow to the areas.
Active hold. This will give you the most bang for your buck for strength, stability, and even muscle growth. Pick an exercise that puts your muscles into a stretch whilst flexing your muscles. So here in the long lunge, I'm not just in a...
Yeah, these are great. They don't move the needle a ton, but they do build strength in these end ranges. It's like anything else. You want to push the physiological capacity of that place, both under tension and then relaxing and then going back under tension. So that way we see change there.
A deep stretch. What you can't see is I'm trying to pull my front heel and back toe down and in towards my center line to flex my hamstrings and hip flexors.
Good closed hip angle. There you go.
That's not nice.
And you're squeezing.
So I really like this. These are amazing things to do, but they should be built into warm-ups and cool-downs and occasional days where, someone's trained 5 days a week and they need to jump into something like this. The problem is people see a video like this and they follow, I actually haven't seen too much of the mobility guy. I've seen a lot of his like catchy videos, but he seems smart and he seems like he's trying to get people to do these movements. But if you build a whole program out of them, the overall impact on your fitness will be a decrease in fitness because you're not exposing yourself to all of the other areas of fitness. So if you're looking to get the most bang for your buck, like come in and get an hour-long workout a few days a week, like you're gonna not want to do a ton of this. It'll be doing these things in like warm-ups and cool-downs rather than doing these things as the primary program, because they don't move the needle with regards to our capacity the same way other movements do, like thrusters and burpees. Doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that on a scale of things to do, you want these, but they should come down the road depending on your volume that you're able to train.
Already, right?
Yeah,
Good.
I don't know. It's just
Keep pushing
Bad
that heel
time,
down.
man.
There you go.
They're also
I think I'm
miserable.
hallucinating right now.
I think that's an interesting thing. It's like really hard to get people to do these because they're miserable and they don't feel like they're doing much, and their overall impact on your fitness is not as high. But are they beneficial and should you do them? Absolutely.
You might be.
Quick warning, the active hold is tough. You will get sore from this, so you can't do it too often. I do 4 to 6 sets of 30 seconds per week. Usually that's 2 or 3 sets twice per week. Last is a passive hold. This teaches your brain to relax in the position so you can access those ranges in active holds and regular lifting. I usually do this towards the end of my workouts. You can apply this system to any movement or muscle, but if you want to cover your entire body, you only need to focus on 3 key positions. These are the big 3 of mobility: the middle splits, the front splits, and the back bend. Even if you never master these exercises, simply working on them will get you training all the positions you've been neglecting for years.
Yeah, so those are going to expose a lot from your hips and legs, and then your shoulders and low back as well, and hips. And so the back bend is just, the vast majority of people are nowhere near doing any of this. And we would do these all the time in warm-ups just because they're fantastic. But again, they're not moving the needle with regards to fitness, but they are being protective over joints and ligaments and tendons and building a little bit of range.
For example, the back bend isn't just a spine movement, you're working your chest, biceps, upper back, and triceps.
But we need to get out of the mindset of what we're working, because we're not working. It doesn't matter what our muscles look like. It matters what they're capable of. So if you want to say we're working, what we mean is we're using and we're taking through a longer range so that they can be more capable and we can be less injury prone and more applicable to life.
And
But that's my personal bent. He can say whatever he wishes.
while it looks extreme, you can work your way up to it, just like any other style of effective training. Don't forget, just like you try to increase the weight or reps on a biceps curl, you want to progress your mobility training, whether it's weight, range of motion, or simply feeling better in your movements.
So this guy's quite flexy. So anyone watching this, if you see him doing these movements with these loads, like he is a lot of range relative to normal people. Most people getting into these positions will be way lifted up in very different positions with absolutely no load and struggling. And that's okay. It's just a matter of scaling to where people are at. Chapter 2.
Now, you don't want to be a one-pump chump. All show and no go. That was me. Here I am training with a real-life gladiator. I thought this would be an easy workout. It's just 3 barbell cleans and 10 medicine ball throws. I'm even using light weights, but my strength was useless.
I think that's Harriet Roberts he's training with. So he must be somewhere in Australia close enough to Harriet Roberts and Anna Wishnowski. Great stuff. He's clearly doing a CrossFit style workout here, and he's talking about doing anaerobic work and doing just, what we do as CrossFitters all the time. He said all show and no go. We used to call that a DMO, which is display model only. You see people who present in a certain way, and physiologically they look bomb proof. Then you ask them to do something and you're like, huh? And that was the case for a lot of the fitness world up until, I would say in the last 10 years, 15 years, people started understanding that you needed to do more than just the isolated movements. You needed to put stuff together, and mixing modalities really does a wonder to the old engine.
Because I couldn't sustain it. Set 1 was easy, but by set 3, I was failing, and we were meant to do 10 sets.
177.
One more round to go. We're gonna crack 180.
I'm gonna crack my heart in a second.
You can be strong and
So
muscular.
the strain that your body goes under adapts. It adapts to that. But yes, when you first mix modalities, you experience what he's experiencing.
But if you're getting puffed out, walking upstairs, moving furniture, or carrying groceries inside, all that strength means nothing.
It's like the world stops spinning, so I can.
I wouldn't say strength means nothing. I would just say that it's less applicable to the world, which is what we want to avoid. We want to be able to use our strength, right?
Get off this ride. I thought I had a good amount of fitness because of all the running and aerobics I've been doing the last year.
Such a different stimulus, eh?
Yeah.
In a workout like this, your goal is your lowest number, because it doesn't matter what number you got on the first round. If you can't hold that on the 9th and the 10th, then it was irrelevant.
Bodybuilding logic is that
So, Harriet's great. She does a lot of movement stuff, and she just actually kind of described it sounds like they were doing some sort of a Tabata interval, where the scoring is centered around your lowest score is your score. And the point of that would be able to sustain a higher pace for longer. So you have to not go out super hot, but you have to go out pretty hot and then see how well you can maintain that. Now, there's value in keeping scores like that. There's value in paying attention to that. And I wouldn't say it's meaningless that you go out hot and then peter out. It's more of an energy management conversation. But it's definitely something to look at and mix into your training, just like Harriet said.
cardio is for fat loss. It'll kill your gains, so avoid it as much as possible. But that's not true. Cardio is not for fat loss or burning calories. Cardio is for building the engine that powers your body. If you do it properly, it's one of the most underrated ways to building more muscle and getting stronger faster. There's only 2 things you need.
I could say that building an engine will make you have a higher quality of life. But I don't know about I'm curious how he backs up that it makes your muscles stronger.
Most people, including bodybuilders, are already doing the first part, but they're completely missing the second part. And that's where most of the real magic happens. First is the base building work. You pick an exercise and do it for 30 to 90 minutes at a consistent conversational pace. As you get fitter, you'll be able to go harder and cover more distance at what feels like the same easy pace. Do this 1 to 3 times per week. The second part is what most people are missing. This is where you do short bursts of moderate to high intensity work for multiple sets. This is where you embrace the suck, but not just once or twice, in the same way.
So, the base that he talked about can be built without doing that base work. When we talk about this zone 2 stuff, when we talk about the adaptation you get from higher intensity training, you end up building an aerobic base. just due to the nature of the way your glycolytic pathway works, because it has carryover onto the aerobic side. If you're just doing, 3-4 days a week worth of training, you can't cycle in, 90 minutes of walking slow. Like, that just doesn't work. It's just like, if you've got 4 days a week or 3 days a week of training and that's all you're hitting, it makes way more sense to do a mixed variety of short, medium, and long time domain, higher intensity work, because you're going to have more physiological carryover into the area of aerobics. Doing the aerobic work is not as beneficial or as necessary as he's kind of making it out to be here. In addition to that, he was doing some of the rope work. Rope work doesn't do a ton. It's hard because it's weird and your arms fatigue and your engine does to some degree. But the overall power output of rope work, it's not moving a very large load, not moving it very far, and it's not doing it particularly fast. So it's lower power, which is going to be lower intensity. Now, it's fun and gimmicky, but by no means will you see those in CrossFit gyms. And the reason for that is the adaptation from it is not very impressive. It doesn't do much for our systems. So when we're talking about this high intensity work, you often won't see rope work in CrossFit gyms.
Way that you need enough sets and reps at the right intensity to stimulate muscle growth, you need enough sets and reps at the right intensity to stimulate your heart, lungs, and blood vessels to adapt. 10 to 20 sets is the target, 1 to 3 times a week. So how do you...
So these are still bodybuilding splits. He's breaking it down like your bodybuilding, but you don't need to do it like this. If you want to do it like this, you can, but I would argue it's probably going to be less overall efficient unless you're really neurotic with how you structure this all out. Maybe I buy a plan from him and it'd work well.
You get those 10 to 20 sets. These are my 3 go-to conditioning workouts. First, the 10-minute workout. 15 seconds on, 45 seconds off, for 10 to 15 total sets.
Cool. So he's doing that one there with Anna. And basically that's a work rest interval. It's like a 3-to-1. So you do 15 seconds work, 45 seconds rest, triple amount of rest that you do the work. It allows you to hit the overall intensity on the sprint way, way, way harder, which gives you enough recovery. And recovery is not a good thing. When you get it, just means you can go harder on the next one. It's good stuff to know.
This lets you push closer to your absolute max.
Yeah.
Next, there's a 20-minute workout. 1 minute on, 1 minute off for 10 total sets.
Cool. So you're working a longer time duration. It's still a work rest interval, but you've got a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio, and you're working under a 20-minute time frame. So you're asking your body to push for that longer total period, but still working glycolytic. You're beyond that 10-second time frame, so it's not an all-out sprint, kind of like that 15-second one was. But that 15-second one was a little bit longer than an all-out sprint because 15 seconds is not it's not an all-out sprint. It's 5 seconds too long. But it's a similar type of training, but it's just spread out over 20 minutes instead of...
This forces your body to recover faster between sets. Then there's a 30-minute workout, Norwegian 4x4. 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off for 4 total sets.
Yeah. So again, now we're working a 4-minute effort, which is it's beyond your true glycolytic range, working into kind of pushing your capacity and seeing where threshold really is. So you hit threshold of glycolytic right at about 2 minutes, and then you're kind of pushing for another 2 minutes within that. So you're not going 100%, you're going at like 70, 60, 70%, which will feel very hard as soon as a minute and 30 seconds, 2 minutes hits. And then you get a 3-minute recovery pace. So you're still moving, so it's a constant, steady pace, but you go hard for the 4-minute.
You got to push as hard as you can, but live right on the edge of your limit.
This is like straight endurance though for CrossFit, if you're thinking 30 minutes of nonstop movement.
So you can keep going for the full 4-minute set. This one sucks. Cardio equipment or running works really well here, but this is also a good opportunity to use full body exercises, medicine balls, sandbags, and even barbell movements for variety, and to train more than just your legs. For example, more recently, my 20-minute workout has been 20 alternating kettlebell swings or snatches in about 30 seconds, followed by 30 seconds of Zercher step-ups. Then I take a minute break and repeat the 10 sets.
30 seconds, 1 minute rest, 10 sets. Yeah, this is just some I don't know why.
Now this is where most people stop.
I don't know why he would do those 2 movements. They don't offer a ton, but they are something you can keep going on. Maybe he just likes doing those movements. If that's the case, then cool.
Because you're strong, you can move well, and you've built your engine. But none of that prepared me for what happened next.
All right, ready? Deep breaths. 1, 2, 3, and focus.
Oh, it's not too bad.
We are in Toronto, in Canada,
was hard
and
for me
I
to
am
watch.
99% sure I've torn my pec. So as we were warming up on the bench press, things were feeling pretty good overall, and just out of nowhere, I felt this ripping sensation across my chest as I was warming up. I thought, that doesn't feel too good whatsoever. This really sucked. To be honest with you, I felt like a bit of a fraud. I was literally on tour teaching coaches, exercise scientists, and physical therapists about how to move well, get stronger, build muscle, improve the cardio, and I got injured.
So I love the fact that he's admitting that, but you're not a fraud. I mean, that's just the nature of human movement. Sometimes you sleep a little funky, you wake up, you do something you've done 1,000 times, and you just tweak it. It does happen. Even in the best case scenario, it'll happen. But I'm curious as to what he points to being the problem.
Because I was still missing something. It wasn't strength, because I wasn't maxing out. It wasn't poor technique, and it wasn't a mobility issue or my cardiovascular endurance. It was something else. The biggest challenge over the last 10 years has been creating a usable system that's not just fun and motivating, but actually works. It's got to be progressive and
It's weird. So he said actually works, and he showed a video of him flexing. I can't stomach that lens. Like, actually works to make it so you look good in the mirror. It's like, he's probably a great guy, and I love this video. He's seems smart and awesome, but we need to start shifting people's mentality away from something working meaning that they look better. It works to allow them to live a higher quality of life, and because of that, they end up looking better. I don't know. It's when you get such smart people who are still promoting the vanity part of it. It's like, what are we missing here as human beings?
cover all your bases, but also fit into a busy lifestyle and not burn you out. I thought I figured it out, but it wasn't perfect. So the last few years, I've been testing. Thousands of people have been going through my hybrid bodybuilding workouts with me, and the newest hybrid bodybuilding program has just launched over at hybridbodybuilding.com.
Yeah, so he is a hybrid bodybuilding guy. I've been talking about it the whole time. So it sounds like he's trying to do a better version of bodybuilding. I think we got to steer away from bodybuilding.
I'll always love classic bodybuilding workouts, but this is easily my favorite series of programs I've ever released. Because after learning from so many athletes and coaches outside of the mainstream fitness bubble, I found my body was craving. I'm still getting stronger and building muscle, but I've never felt and moved this well in my entire life. And I'm really excited for you to experience it too. During launch week, you'll get all 4 training programs.
I'm gonna skip
Each
through this
one
ad
is
here.
split plan.
Okay, the missing piece. What is it? Embrace the chaos.
Pure bodybuilding and most modern day fitness advice is built on one word: stability. We use machines and isolation exercises to help you push your body to its limits. And that's great for science, but it creates a gap. And if you ever tried a new exercise and found yourself shaking, or picked up something in the real world and felt unstable, you know this gap. When you move, your brain fires signals to your muscles. This happens in milliseconds. On the outside, it looks simple, point A to point B. But on the inside, your body is constantly making micro adjustments based on those signals. And if that signal gets delayed or disrupted, suddenly the right muscles don't fire when they should. That's when you're vulnerable to injury. Using more stable and simpler exercises helps to reduce this risk. But strategically adding in more instability in your workouts will strengthen those signals from your brain to your muscles. You won't just build muscle, strength and mobility, but body control, balance and coordination. This
So a lot of the classic fitness world was centered around just physique, right? So we needed to get it as safe as possible, isolate it out, do the thing. When you do things that require coordination, accuracy, agility, and balance, like he's got here, you end up inevitably using your system slightly differently. You use your body in a way that is far more applicable to life, how a body's made to move. And there should be some of this. And I would argue that something like, even when I was bad-mouthing earlier to some degree, like the battle ropes, they do something kind of like this. But rings are absolutely awesome for this. I think unilateral works, like one-legged stuff, is awesome for this. I think coordinated pieces that are moving faster. So as soon as you start increasing the speed on a light weightlifting movement, you're like, oh my gosh, where am I in space? I think rotational work also fits into this category. But these instability things, they're gimmicky to some degree because you don't want to build a program out of them, but they need to find their way into our training somewhere. And picking, carrying, lifting, throwing, and doing more functional movements will almost automatically hit these kinds of things. Overhead squats and, wall ball and even thrusters, like they do these things. But you can also add in what he's probably going to talk about.
This is where calisthenics and gymnastics training will transform your body. The best part is you don't need a ton of equipment for this stuff. I use simple swaps to basic exercise to add in this layer of instability. The key is to not take away from the core focus of the exercise.
So he's talking about scaling, and what we're looking at is a bunch of gymnastic moves that then can be scaled. Fantastic. Look at us, we're doing CrossFit.
The pelican curl trains your biceps in the exact same position as an incline curl. It's less stable, so your body awareness and coordination improves over time, but not so unstable that you can't target your biceps effectively.
So again, you don't need to do something like a pelican curl in order to get the instability that you're going to look at for a ring stabilization to support, or a skin the cat or something along those lines. But it's a fantastic movement that you should potentially be warming up with. These, press outs that we have where we go out on the rings, these ones where we do flies, when we do ring rows, like these should all be built into warm ups. They should be built into cool downs. They should be subs and scales for workouts.
The front lever is just like a stiff arm pullover for lats.
Front lever,
but instead of being a pure isolation,
like a non-dynamic version of a toes to bar.
For lats, it works your entire upper body as one complete unit and gives you mastery over your body. And this applies to heavy lifts too. Odd lifts and loaded carries are the secret weapon from old-time lifting.
Odd lifts and carries, stuff we should be doing.
Switching a regular back squat to a Zercher squat or a deadlift to a sandbag lift will still effectively train your posterior chain, but the unstable nature of these exercises builds that
Absolutely. All of these things are super true, and they should make their way into our training. They shouldn't be the core of it, because we need to make sure we're still doing the big movers, the big simple dumb things that just push capacity and intensity better, but we should also be doing these.
Uncommon strength in a more dynamic and real-world way. Don't ditch the basics, but look for opportunities to expand your movement and strength vocabulary to make you more resilient.
Yeah, just what he said. Don't ditch the basics, but then expand your need for speed.
All right, it's time to go deep and explore our final foundations. And this is one of the biggest things missing from modern day bodybuilding training, because everything is slow, predictable, and stable.
Control, 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 weight, rack.
There you go.
Moving slow is great for building size and strength, but real life doesn't happen in slow motion and perfectly aligned machines. It's fast, reactive, and chaotic. And most people don't realize this, but you should be training for it. It's not just about size, strength, mobility, endurance, or body control, but doing it fast, explosively, and aggressively combines everything and trains your body to handle real-world fast movements.
Yeah.
This looks wrong, and every bodybuilding expert will tell you it's all momentum and it's a waste of time. But it's not momentum or cheating. It's speed, agility, power, and rhythm. The core things most bodybuilders lack. So,
I mean, he's preaching to the choir right now, but absolutely. It's the reason that we do what we do.
Here's how to build it. Step 1 is drop catches and rebounds. Here, you're sharpening your reaction times and learning to absorb force through your joints and muscles, making you less prone to injuries. Step 2 is to train with explosive intent. Instead of the standard slow, controlled bodybuilding technique, the goal is to move as aggressively and fast as possible. For example, on the dead bench, I'm dropping the weight down to the ground, completely relaxing, and explosively pressing off my chest.
So he's doing the first one was the drop catch. It's doable and fine. It's the same thing that you would get from doing like rebounded box jumps to some degree, or not box jumps, rebounded jump rope, or doing box jumps and step downs. And I think drop catches are fine. They're great. Add them in there. We wouldn't put them in a high intensity workout because they're very slow, but they're good. And this is more like Louis Simmons stuff. So he's going into speed work, speed strength work, looking at increasing intensity via speed during the lifts, and recruitment looks different in these.
Think of it like a jump for your lower body or a throw. This trains your ability to activate all of your muscles as quickly as possible to overcome heavy weights.
Yep.
Do all of this power-based work at the start of your workouts when your nervous system is fresh, and only use low rep ranges. 3 to 6.
So making statements like that are the interesting ones for me. When you make a statement like, only do it at this time, that's not, you don't need to do that. And if you have to chunk out your workout in such a way where, like, I guess if you're a professional and this is all you do, then you would chunk it out to get the exact max amount from it. You should do it at X number of times a week and then throw it in to whenever. Sometimes do it fatigued, sometimes do it not fatigued. You can maybe get the most from it when your nervous system's ready. But it's not, we don't need to be as set in stone as that.
6 reps at most. The goal isn't fatigue or burnout, it's to amplify your explosive power. You can see the benefits of this immediately if you use contrast sets. Try a set of 3 to 5 vertical jumps, then take a short 30 to 60 second break. Then do your regular squat exercise. You'll feel a lot more explosive and often be able to lift a lot more weight. Now the final step is where we put everything together. This is a real test of how well the entire system we've been building is working. Not just power, but strength, mobility, body control, all of it. You're not just moving explosively or absorbing forces, you're doing it repeatedly for reps. In my opinion, the most violent and aggressive test is sprinting. There is a surprising amount of force, power, rhythm, and mobility involved in running full pelt in a straight line. Olympic lifting falls into the same category. So some of these movements are a little bit more aggressive. So like anything, gradual, smart progression into it is key. I'll be covering off on all of these in more detail in an upcoming mini-series, so make sure you subscribe and look out for it in the next month. And if you want a complete done-for-you system that lays out all of this for you, you can get my doc and the hybrid bodybuilding workouts neglecting to help you look, bonus workouts explaining all the layers.
Okay, so all in all, this is a fantastic video. I think he was on point with like everything that he said. I still think it's through the lens of bodybuilding and looking a certain way, which I fundamentally disagree with if you couldn't have told by this entire video. That being said, this is wonderful information, and I think a lot of people might be able to make a transition from, oh, I'm only focusing on what I look like and I'm doing very isolated training and I'm walking around just broken as shit, to feeling a lot better. Now, I would argue that everything he talked about, literally everything, even the very beginning where he's talking about these 10 different things and these 8 of them that were missing, like, I don't know where muscle is in there, like pull that out, but he listed the 10 general physical skills for the most part. Exactly what we talk about, what we're trying to do within CrossFit. And these are physiological adaptations that we get from training. I think this guy, if he saw what happened in local gyms and watched the number of people who do training that fits very similar to this, would be blown away by what we really do day in and day out at CrossFit gyms. Now, that being said, there are a ton of CrossFit gyms that are so one-dimensional in their thinking that they don't end up actually exploring some of these quirkier ideas, like getting into Zercher squats or getting into the drops where you drop and land and like kick off, or doing odd gymnastics movements and calisthenics and warm-ups. They stick to just Metcons and strength Metcon every day, which I think is a fundamental misunderstanding of CrossFit, but at the same time would lead people to be like, well, that's not going to have the adaptation that you want in terms of health. I far prefer what this guy's talking about, but mixed up into classes. So we still have our, strengths, and we still have our Metcons, and we still have our normal training days, but we also build into some of these odder stuff around warm-ups and cool-downs, and we trick people into doing a far more holistic program, but never with the intention of making them look a certain way. That look will be as a result of them being more capable. Anyway, it's a great video. Seems like a great dude. I love his progression. I like his thoughts on stuff. I just think we need to stop focusing on how good we look and start focusing on what we're capable of more as an industry. Anywho, until next time.